Okay, we are in the final phases of building out the Chaos Garden. So we tried to build some of these beds with nails. That did not work. So today we're going to correct that issue, fill in a bed. I'm only going to show one because it's the same thing over and over again. And do a lot of work because I rented a skid steer. And that thing was fun. I finished laying out the gravel. Kinda. I did the best I could. I've never driven a skid steer before, so it was a thing. And there's a learning curve. There are some fixes I'm going to have to do, which I just assumed that was going to happen. And, but all in all, it's not looking bad. And at the end, I will show you where we've gotten to this week. Tomorrow it's supposed to rain all day, so I have got a ton to do today. It's about 8 a.m. and I plan on going until dark. I did rent the skid steer with heating and AC and a cab because I've already had a tick and I'm cool. I'm good and I've got a lot of brush to go through. So, with that in mind, what I'm using to secure these beds, other than nails, are these little brackets and Deck made 1 1/4 inch star drive coated screws at about 1 pound. Yes, they do move like this when you move them, but when they're actually on the ground, they're pretty dang sturdy. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Flip over to a speed through because nobody needs. I do strip these a lot less than I do the other screws. Way less. But I'm going to mute that part so that nobody hears me stripping these screws because I do that a lot. All right, let's get into some fun and see how this thing finally turns out. This has been a labor of love. So let's get on with it, y'all. Let's see if I can actually get the angles right on this. Where did my drill go? I lost the drill. Oh, there it is. All right. We have said drill. So, I remember how to open the box. Okay, that did not work. I'm used to doing this laying it down. But because we have nails in it, I can't do that. So this may get freaking interesting, and I know I need to move my hands. Oh, I may have it on the wrong freaking direction, too. Because that's a thing I am known to do. All right, there's one. We're going to go with the other side. Now, I am not a professional, so let's not get this twisted. I'm just a woman who wants her freaking garden. That's all. And I'm willing to learn new things to get it. And there's always rebar. I can always put rebar in to hold these in place if I need to. Like, I know there's a gap there. It's fine. Everything is fine. We are not perfect. That is okay. This one's going to be entertaining, though, because we're going to see if this even freaking works. Shit. I'll have to bleep that out. Do I have the wrong direction again? Okay. Really? I swear I didn't change the direction on it. All right. Now that we have a hole. My neighbor's dogs are also running around my property, making my dogs angry. All right. And then we just do that. Where there is a will, there is a freaking way. Which I may wait to do that in until I get screws in the other end. Because this side is liking to pop off when I tried to put the nails back. Like one end would pop off and I'd get the other end in, and I went back and forth for like 10 minutes before I was like, yeah, and we're done. So I'm going to jump over to the other side before I try to finish that one and try to scare off my neighbor's dogs. I don't know if you can see the nails in the camera, but they're the nails. I'm going to try to get this so you guys can see it. Just because, like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but that shouldn't stop you from at least trying. Yeah, you may mess it up, but we call that character. My father would probably not call that character, but I call it character, which is what matters. Every male in the world probably just cringed with me stripping that screw like a... There. There she blow. Let's get number 2 on here. Now let's see what I can do with this. I don't know if these screws are going to be long enough to do what I'm hoping they do. Kinda. They kinda did it. I was hoping it would pull it closer. And it kinda did. But maybe that means I can then hit those. Alright, let me grab my mallet and see if I can hit some of these nails in. I have a mallet, because I just had it. Oh, there it is. Maybe. Now that we've got some form of it together. Alright, that worked. Let's see how well. Like I said, where there is a will, there's a way, y'all. Now I just got to figure out the bottom. All right, so that's not doing as well as I wanted it to. However, I have concrete blocks. And I can line this bed in concrete blocks. All right, I'm going to run around and finish the rest of the edges that I can finish. And then I will just move over the concrete block and plant like a little herby thing along the edge. And that will be how it goes. I can't see anything, I'm blind. Okay, we've got this bed pretty much shored up. So how you can fill your raised beds or quasi-raised beds like I have, there are a couple different ways. For me, what I'm doing, I'm leaving weed fabric down below where the gravel is. And this is honestly because my septic system is right over there, my septic tank. So I'm a little tweaked out by that. And I am leaving a layer of rock down. And then I was going to put some wood in. However, when I went back and got the dirt that I am moving in, there is so much different pieces of wood and grass and clippings, and it's just already there. So I'm going to skip that step, but you can put down a layer of wood to help fill in the bed. And then you put your dirt on top of that. And then I'm going to layer wood chips on top. My thought process behind this is I want it layered exactly like the earth, because I think that's the only way I'm going to get anything to grow in raised beds. That's what I did with the metal raised beds that I have, and it's working out great. And anything that is a root crop, I have put in a much higher bed with looser soil. That way it has more room to grow. Also, my root crops, I don't grow potatoes because it is not worth it to me for the yields that I get. I will buy potatoes. But I do grow garlic and carrots. I grow radishes for the chickens, so those aren't even very deep root crops. I like the smaller carrots. They're easier to eat, and they're yummy, and they're sweet. So I'm going to get some concrete block shored up against the right-hand side from where I'm sitting right now, because that one side I just couldn't get equaled out. And then I will fill each one of those little holes in the concrete block and make a little edge of herbs or something like that. Maybe some flowers to help keep the pests away, because there are always flowers. All right. It's so pretty out today. And I have so much to do, and luckily it's all outside. So, time to go get the heavy equipment and get to getting. And then from here, we just smooth it out and then pick up the chunks I dropped. And pick out any debris. Like, I don't know where half of this came from, but we've had so many storms that only God knows. Like, I don't even know what that is. So we just flatten it all out, which will take some time. I'm digging out weird roots, but there are enough sticks and everything in here. And then the rest of this was actually going to be filled with wood chips. And I've done this on the majority of other beds. I have one more left to go. I do not want that grass. It can go away. And this was dug up out of our front yard last year. And there will be an entire series of how we're doing the front yard. But the wood chips I'm putting on top should stop any of the weeds that may be in here. There's already in it. But this will probably be the most tedious part, is spreading it. But I am not good enough with the skid steer to spread it with a skid steer. So if you're ordering dirt, you want to make sure you're ordering topsoil and not fill dirt. Like, this is really dark. It has a ton of worms in it. And every time I've ordered dirt, except for if I do need to order more, which I'm not sure I do, this will be the first time I'm actually ordering it in the spring. I normally order it in the winter time or in the fall, and I let it sit all winter. Because I've got just a ton of worms in this, which is always good. And yes, I should probably use a shovel or something, but I like having my hands in the dirt, so I don't mind this part. It's very therapeutic. I'm going to take a rake over it at the very end, though, just to make sure it's level. Or as level as it's going to be with me doing this myself and not being a professional. And I don't have any adult supervision right now. So there is that. My daughter's gone. My husband's gone. They got nothing. So it's just me figuring it out. And I have learned that if I listen to my intuition, that I tend to be able to grow pretty much anything. Anywhere, because nature wants to grow things. Another one of those things. I think those are glow sticks that we had to use for something. And they might have just gotten lost. Oh, sorry, Wormy, I'll cover you back up. My bad. And I'll probably just break out something. Or cover it with wood chips and let nature do what nature does. But the edges are primarily filled. And we got one more bed to fill, which I'm not going to record because that was awkward. However, with the skid steer, if you're not used to using them, the one thing I keep forgetting is to put the, I think it's called a boom, the lifter guy, all the way down before you get out, because if any of those hydraulic lines snap, you're dead. And it would not be cool. Okay, that was heavier than I thought. Whew. I've done a lot of stupid things this week and my body is feeling it. But over the course of the summer, I'll get used to it and it will be fine. All right. I'm going to go move a bed, and then fill the last bed, and then we can start loading up the wood chips. Well, that was an adventure, but I have all the wood chips strategically placed around to be able to cover the beds. So that's what we're going to do with this bed, and then I will speed through all of the rest of it and probably talk about more of why I'm doing it the way that I'm doing it, and eventually it will be pretty. Right now, it was very wet, and I did what I could get done, and that's about as far as I got, because once you sink in the mud and you almost tip over a skid steer, you're pretty cool with a skid steer. You're like, all right, if anything does not feel level, I am outie, yo. So let's get to getting, guys. All right, spinnies. There's my pile of wood chips. And these came from the city, so I don't know what the heck is in there. That's why I'm wearing gloves. I'm wearing long sleeves, just in case. So I'm going to grab from that pile and fill this bed. Ignore the ugly for right now, okay? Okay, so I'm in the skid steer thingy, and that was a truly terrifying experience. I hit a sinkhole on the other property, and I had to call the excavation guys that I know and have them literally dig me out. I will pop some pictures up on screen of what happened, and I was driving along, and then all of a sudden I was sideways. It was so much fun. All right, but wood chips are in the trailer. I have no idea where I'm looking at in this thing. Like, I think the camera's here, but I'm not sure. So I have the trailer loaded with wood chips. I'm going to go and get those dumped and then just keep loading the trailer with wood chips because my lawnmower is doing much safer on the wet ground than this heavy thing. So I will see you in a few. All right. One bed done. And yeah, you're probably going to have some bigger ones in here. It's fine, especially if it comes from the city. It's not like this stuff is super, super chipped, but it does the job and it's free. Most of the time, you can get free wood chips, especially if you live in a way more populated area than I do. For me, it was really hard to get them. Our population is very low, and everything is wet all the time, so you have to have a concrete drive for them to be able to dump them in because their trucks will just sink in our yards. I guess the bonus on that is that I don't have to water a whole bunch. Even in droughts, it's clay soil and holds water really well. All right, I'm gonna fill how many more beds? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6 more to go. I think I have too many wood chips. Just saying, I may have too many wood chips. There are never enough wood chips. Never, never, never. The rock is a hot mess, yes. But the beds are done, filled with dirt, filled with wood chips, and you can see my body over there still stuck there. This is my spirit talking to you because it's done. I'm done. I'm over. It's been a thing.